Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchin. I'm so happy you've joined us today, and you're going to find out a lot about whitetail hunting on the show. This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 372. Whitetail Stalker's Willie Smith is our guest on today's show. Willie remembers how it was when his dad took him out hunting when he was very young. He also remembers what it was like when he took his own kids out for their first hunt. He sure darn well understands when he got his first harvest, a 7-pint buck on their family farm. As he says, it's a day he'll never forget. The hunting tradition runs strong with Willie, and he shares that with all the team members at Whitetail Stalker. So listen back, listen up, and think about what the hunting tradition means. Thanks, Willie, for being a guest on the show. It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy. Welcome to another episode of Bruce Hutchin. This is your host, and we're going to connect with Willie Smith. Now, Willie Smith is part of the Whitetail Stalker team. He's on pro staff, and he's going to share some hunting secrets, and he's going to tell us all why they like to hunt whitetails. Willie, welcome to the show.
Yep, thanks for having me, Bruce. It's nice, good to be on your show.
Well, the pleasure's all mine, and I met some of the guys at Iowa Deer Classic. Were you there?
No, unfortunately, we didn't get to make it out to Iowa this year. Hopefully next year we make it out that way. So,
yeah,
I met this year it was
I met a bunch of people and the grand staffs. Mike and Shelley were so gracious. They cooked some lasagna one night, Saturday night, and we all piled into their house, had a great time. So you're connected to a real great group of people at Whitetail Stalker. Let's talk about right off the bat, what does it mean to be a pro staff? A lot of people ask me about that, and so from your point of view, what do you do in your role as a pro staffer?
Kind of new with the pro staff thing. I've been doing it for about a year now. For me, it's just trying to promote a product that I believe in. You're always testing new products, trying new things out, and then you find things that you like, and you just promote that product, explain people why you like it, why you would recommend it. Other than that, it's just kind of just like to help the small guys out, more or less. Helping them get their product out there and explain how it works and why it works well in the hunting scenarios and different hunting scenarios and stuff, things like that.
So do you have regular duties at shows or how do you promote Whitetail Stalker and the products? I see in your bio picture, you're shooting for Bowtech. Is that one of your sponsors?
Bowtech, they sponsor a few guys on the team. They don't sponsor me. I just happen to shoot a Bowtech, and in the pictures, that's what you'll see a lot of the times is a Bowtech. Firm believer in that line of equipment. Just don't hold those responsibilities with that particular company.
All right, and then from Whitetail Stalker, why did you connect with Mike and Shelley?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting story. Kind of doing my own thing. I was just pro staffing for some other companies. I don't know if Mike had seen what I've been doing or what, but I know around the first of this year, actually, another one of the team members had asked me if, I'd be interested in joining Whitetail Stalkers, and, had a conversation with Mike. It seemed like it was a great opportunity. So I got on board with Team Whitetail Stalker, and it's been a really great opportunity ever since.
So what makes them special? I've had a number of the guys and gals, on the team, on the show, and it just seems like you guys got something going on. Where's that come from?
For me, I got to say the foundation of Mike's team, God, family, and whitetails. For me, God's number one, then my family, and then, I love to hunt the whitetail deer. So it just kind of fell into place. Once I got on the team, started talking around with some of the guys. We chat a lot on Facebook. We throw phone calls back and forth at each other, and we just clicked, and it's been a really good fit. Great conversations, and it's almost that family atmosphere. I can call anybody. A lot of us have never met. We're stretched from we're north central Ohio all the way out to Kansas. So a lot of us have never met, but still we have that, I guess, comfort zone or like interest where it's just a smooth. Once I joined the team, it was like I knew these guys for the last 5 or 6 years, and we just keep that going, and it's the family atmosphere.
Yeah, and I really got the sense of that when when I was at the Grandstad's house because a lot of people they get all wired up and say, hey, I'm a pro staffer this and that and all that well and good because you guys do a lot of great work, but the camaraderie that you guys have is unique. So props to you guys for doing that. And, well done.
Yep.
Now, in your bio, you said that one of your uncles was disabled, but he said he's one heck of a hunter. Let's tell that story and share, what that's all about.
Yeah, that was my Uncle Paul. I grew up in Central West Virginia, and as I got older, as a young adult, I moved to Northern Ohio. But I always grew up hunting with him. He was a quadriplegic. He had use of his arms, limited use of his arms. He's in a wheelchair. He was kind of my hunting buddy. Every year we'd squirrel hunt together and we'd deer hunt together. With his challenges as being in a wheelchair, he never let that stop him. And it's personally that's given me a lot of drive in life. As not to say that if he can do it, I can do it, but just to see him overcome a lot of the challenges that he would come up against, give me a lot of willpower and a lot of confidence in life as itself. But as a hunter, is really important. I got a newspaper article that I keep posted on my wall here in the house in a picture frame. 1983, whenever I was 1 year old, he actually killed his first buck. I want to say he was probably, 30 years old. He was successful and killed a 6-point in West Virginia. And, having him in my life, it gives you a different, I guess just a different look at life and how things go. I was very fortunate to have him in my life. He, watching my dad and my uncle, he'd get a new wheelchair about every 10 years. We'd be out in the shop welding up a new brace for his gun. We had a bracket put on his gun because he couldn't hold it with his arms because he didn't have the strength, but we made a bracket to where he could move the gun, left and right and up and down, and he could aim it. And he killed several deer. He started out with a Mini 14 whenever all this first started, and then he graduated into like a 7mm 08, which is pretty high caliber rifle for what he was doing. And just always, I guess, for a lot of years. I mean, now he's passed away. Took it for granted then, but didn't realize how much I would miss having him around now. It's amazing what he taught me, and seeing him do those things. I know he killed, like that 6-point. He harvested the 6-point, and then there's been several deer, several squirrel. I remember as a kid, actually built him a cabin where he could be in the woods. We took and rigged up our family or our tractor on our farm to where we could take and we load him up on a trailer, and then we pull him back up on the woods, and then we built a road good enough where he could drive his wheelchair. I don't know, probably 200 or 300 yards. He could go back and forth through the woods, and then we had a cabin that he could get in and hunt from that. And we got a couple deer that way, and just kind of there's only so much he could do. Wherever it come to after he harvested, there was you had to drag the deer out and process it and that type of thing. And I was always there to help him with that, and just a lot of support through the years.
That's a great story, and people like that mold our lives, and it's about hunting, and our lives revolve around hunting. A big part of our lives, since we hunt, it does. But then you put in the people and what they've given to you, and so those memories are great. And thanks for sharing that.
Yep, no trouble. Like I say, I mean, being a kid, he passed whenever I was 25, so I had 25 years. Great years with him hunting, and took it for granted. And now, I look back on it, and actually this first day of bow season this year, I'm sitting there in the woods, and I was like, I've never done anything like this, but this season is for him, and probably the next few will be.
Well, I think that's a good thing to do because he's going to be right beside you. That's for darn sure.
Oh yeah,
and I appreciate that. Let's talk about getting youth involved in the outdoors, how that works and why that's so critically important to you.
Um, that's how I learned and got involved. Was I can remember as a kid being, 6, 7 years old, and just deer season would come. First week, West Central West Virginia, my dad rifle hunted. So usually the first day or two, he would go out till he got one, and then the rest of the week he would take me and my brother out. And just remember being so excited, and to get that opportunity to be out in the woods with my dad, and learn what he knew, because he's killed mature bucks, and it was exciting, especially in the area where I grew up. So I would go out, and sit with my dad. Didn't actually kill my first deer till I was 13. I was sitting with my dad till I was probably 10 years old, I think, and then I kind of ventured out on my own. That was back before they had, the apprenticeships or anything like that. You just kind of learned it on your own, and then whenever you could get a youth license, you could get a youth license. But whenever I got out on my own, didn't or maybe let me back up here a little bit. Whenever I was 13, I actually killed my first deer with my dad, and then after I killed my first deer, he set me loose on my own. And there was a couple years there that I didn't get a deer, just because of didn't have enough patience, just lack of experience. And then, and I think the year was 1999. I actually harvested my first buck, which was a 7-point. That was the first deer or second deer I'd ever killed on my own. I killed a doe year before on my own, and then that next year I got my first buck. So I guess the importance of passing on to the youth is, that's how I learned about it. Took what I learned from my dad and then put my own twist on it, and have been pretty successful. And then, passing it on to my kids, that's big. My daughter, that one was actually scared me a little bit, because I grew up in a household of all boys except for my mom, and she didn't hunt. And so whenever I had my first daughter, my only daughter, I was really unsure of how that was going to play out. Would she hunt? Would she be interested in it? This, that, and the other. And I tell you what, she's been right there ever since she could walk. She's always been in the building with us, after hunting, and she's a bigger part of it. At 8 years old, is probably more of a part of it, being 8 years old, than I was at her age. And so just teaching her, she's fortunate enough to have me teaching her and my dad. She always sits with dad usually, but and then my son this year, he's super excited. This is going to be his first year in the woods. He's all about turkey hunting. So we got him a call and teaching him how to call, and we'll see how it goes this year.
Well, did you get any of this winter weather? Is it 70 degrees or is there snow on the ground?
Here in Ohio? Oh, we got snow on the ground.
It's just crazy, and people have sent me pictures of scrapes and rubs and deer breathing, and I'm going, what is going on? I've never seen that type of activity. People say it goes on. We just, I think with social media are more attuned to it, but
yeah,
how just staying on the whitetail for a second, how long does it gestation period? So if those bred in November, they drop their forms, April, May?
Yeah. Yep. Probably November to, I'd say, April, May. Well, I know the rut started here real late this year. It was toward the end of November, because I actually was bow hunting here in northern Ohio up till the end of November. And the last week I went back to West Virginia for rifle season, and the rut hit the heaviest the week that I was gone. So,
man, you missed it.
Yeah, it had a lot of time and hours into it, and I missed it.
Missed it. Hey, let's talk about the importance of knowing your neighbors wherever you hunt. Do you have family land, private land, or are you hunting DIY, public land?
I hunt private. A lot of it's neighbors' properties. I don't own much here, so fortunate enough to have a few people let me hunt on their property. So,
how important is it knowing the surrounding neighbors?
Here in Ohio, it's very important. You don't want to be disrespectful, one, and then two, in the specific area that we're in, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say a lot, but there's people that they just don't want to let you hunt on their land, which that's fine. So you just got to know your boundaries, be respectful. If always be courteous and ask, talk to people. That's the biggest thing is communication. Is treat other people how you would want to be treated in that in those situations.
Yeah, I've talked to some people and they said, we got quality deer management going on and, a 2.5-year-old deer or young deer, let them go and let them grow, type. But then the neighbor, they're hunting for meat. Hey, if it's legal, it's,
Yeah,
it's on a dinner table. And,
that's the biggest challenge. For our family farm, we own 100 and roughly 140 acres in central West Virginia, and that's we try to manage them. We always, I mean, you're not real mature, monster bucks there where I hunt. So we try to, if you see an 8 point, that's about your cutoff. You know, whether you shoot it or not, because there's a lot of small 4s and 6s. But it's really challenging where we're at because we're out in the middle of the woods. They're surrounded, so it's all woods. So the deer travel, they'll travel 10 miles probably without actually knowing where they go. But uh, we'll pass on bucks, and it's happened a lot where we pass on a small 6 or a 7, and you see it across the ridge, and bang, somebody shot it. So it just makes it really challenging, to get the big mature bucks, in that part of the country. But here in northern Ohio, the people that I have permission to hunt on, they manage their deer herd too because they're hunters as well, and it's a little bit different atmosphere. So we pass on a lot of what I would call really good bucks in West Virginia. We pass on here in Ohio to get the better bucks. So
yeah, and it takes a lot of patience. That's for sure. Now, on your family farm in the West Virginia, how do you hold mature bucks on your land, or don't you?
um, we try. There's a lot of competition in the area. Um, because we thought about trying to do the food plots, and it's just kind of an uphill battle because you got the woods and then you got your fields. There's not a lot of flatlands, so a lot of the flatlands, people who farm use them for hay fields, and a lot of times the deer they just stay in the hay fields. So to put a food plot is, I wouldn't say they're just not that interested in it. We've done, we've done a couple food plots. We had one field, 2.5 acres. We sowed it one year, and the deer just, I mean, they would pick through it, but once it got above 6 inches, they would leave it alone and they'd go back into the hay fields and go after the clover. That was just our personal experience. Here in Ohio, we got a couple food plots going. Then we got some corn going. I'll give them a little bit of corn just to try to help them through the winter because the winters up here are pretty harsh, and I wouldn't say they're scavenging, but they're looking for food. So usually all winter long, I'll keep a feeder going for them here.
And that's helped then?
Yeah, it helps. It keeps them, not so much as an attractant, but I've been watching these two fawns. I've been watching them since they had spots. Both of them are button bucks, and size wise, they ain't got no horns or anything yet, but their body size are, they're full. You don't see their ribs. They're healthy.
So when your family goes out and you're hunting West Virginia, to you and your crew there, the family there, what's a trophy?
Um, this past year, I had a cousin. He killed probably the biggest buck I'd seen on our farm since the '90s. And it was a 10 point, probably 120 class. And that was, that's an impressive deer for that area. If I'd have got him, I'd have probably been at the taxidermist.
And yet in some other places they're letting them walk.
Yeah, yeah. Here in northern Ohio, I'd have probably would have let him walk, just because here it's just totally. You wouldn't think it is different, but it is. Their food source, here in where I live at in Ohio, there's a lot of farm fields. Got the corn, the soybeans, a lot of natural food that they get. They can grow from. West Virginia, where I hunt, only thing the deer have to eat is the green on the trees, and then the white oaks, which the white oaks have a blight, and they've been, they're just not. They don't have the same source of food.
So when you think about food source and sources and genetics and everything, listeners, some places have Boona bucks, Iowa, land of the giants, and other places that have huge deer, but the trophy is in our eyes. It's in the hunter's eyes, and a nice little 8 point buck. It's going to eat real well. That's a trophy in a lot of places. And one thing I was talking to Tony Bynum a little bit ago, and we all got to look at our trophies as something special for us, and whatever somebody says on social media, not so much. Your thoughts on that?
Um, to me, a trophy, that's a personal preference. That's up to the hunter. I mean, people hunt for different reasons, and I'm pretty respectful to listen to anybody's stories. I know some guys, if it's not a 140, they're not going to shoot it. And then I know guys out there that will shoot a 4 point just to have meat in their freezer for the winter. And, to me, both sides is okay. It's whatever works best for you. You know, there, yeah, there's Boone and Crockett and the record books, but to me, the trophy's personal, and what you put into it's what you get out of it. For me,
Yeah, and I appreciate.
because I've seen guys work harder, to get a small 6 point than, well, I wouldn't say harder, but everybody who hunts, they put their time in, they put their, they do their homework, or they just wouldn't be successful. So to me, I mean, your area, and what's going to be good for you. So
I like how you say that. I think we all need to take it. Let's talk about your hunting techniques. What's your favorite go-to technique?
for me, I like to set and wait them out. Uh, I do a lot of scouting, a lot of preliminary work, I guess, so to speak. Try to pattern them the best that I can. See if they're running certain routes, find the food sources, get close to them, find their bedding grounds, how they're traveling in a day. Uh, and then usually if I'm gun hunting, I've set 10 hours in the same spot, just waiting. Because with my luck, and this happened before, you get up and you start moving around, you just start, jumping the deer out to other people. So for me, it's a waiting game.
Yeah.
You be patient with the deer, and they'll eventually come back through and run their pattern.
Now, I've had all day sits, and sometimes they're fun, and sometimes they're not so fun. Let's talk about how you can sit in the stand for 10 hours. I mean, that's a lot.
It is a lot. You know, like I say, you just got to be patient. To be a little light about it. There's a lot of times I'll be just sitting there twiddling my thumbs or carving on a stick, and you're watching the squirrels, which to me, that's part of hunting. It's just what it is. I enjoy watching that type of stuff as much as I do watching a big buck come around the hill. To me, the deer coming is a bonus. That's when the adrenaline gets going, and you get excited, and you see the first doe and kind of scope out, and you go from there. A lot of times, if you see a doe, just keep your eyes out, and there might be a buck following behind her. You never know.
Yeah, that's one thing nice about hunting. You just never know. Now, let's talk about why you place a certain stand in one place. What makes that decision for you?
To me, I like to have a good view of the woods. I'll go out scouting, and I'll look for a certain tree. Okay, if I'm over here, I try to imagine what it's going to be like from 10, 12 feet off the ground, the brush, and what am I going to see from that point. And then I take into facts. Is there a path through here that they travel on? Where's their bedding area? Where's the food source, if there is one close? The water. I know my stands in West Virginia, a lot of times I'll keep them close to water, and just because a lot of mid morning, the way our farm's set up is there's fields on the bottoms, and then on the ridge there's a pipeline, and then the ridges they cross, the low gaps. There's just a lot of different things you take into consideration whenever you're setting your stand.
How important is scent control for you?
It's pretty scent control. It's pretty important for me. I only hunt if I get in a tree stand. A lot of times I hunt on the ground. But if I am in a tree stand, 10, 12 foot max. So scent control is pretty important for me. Some of the things that I do is, I wash them in whatever laundry, the scent blocker laundry detergent, or don't really have a particular favorite one. So many of them nowadays. So I wash my clothes in that. Usually, like in the off season, I keep a blue tote from Target, just a little 2x3 tote. I put my clothes in there, and I'll put them in there with like pine needles, or just get a bag full of leaves and stick in there with them. And then through the year, whenever I get them out, they smell like the woods.
Now, when you think about chasing the whitetail, more times than not, he wins, especially the older the bucks get. But why do you like it so much?
The challenge for me is, this past season, I had a mature 8-point, and had him in shooting range twice, and I couldn't get a shot on him. And it was just a battle of wills, I guess, so to speak. And that challenge, you see him, the adrenaline was going. Then, he just decides the game over and he walks off. You got to be persistent and keep with it. And, eventually it'll work out in the end. But, this year I wasn't able to make it work. He won this year, but hopefully next year, they haven't heard of anybody got him or anything, so he's still out there. We'll try him again.
We're getting near the end of the show, but I want to talk about women in the outdoors. That's one thing you said in your bio you're passionate about. So let's spend some time and unpack that a little bit.
Okay, the women in the outdoors, something, I guess I'm young enough to where it's not a big thing for me to see it, because I grew up in a generation where as many girls hunted with as guys do, and I think that's important, to keep that going. Like I say, my daughter, whenever I had her, it was, I wouldn't say it was scary, but it was scary to know, just never been in that situation, and I want my kids to, like what I'm doing and be a part of what I'm doing, and having a girl coming from an all-boy family, it was just like, oh wow. Is she gonna be into this type of thing or not? And fortunate enough for me, she is. But to keep the women in the outdoors, she's going to be a part. And, it's one of those things that's just important, to keep it going and to pass it on to the future generations of women.
Great, and thanks for sharing that. We're at the time of the show that you can give some shout outs. So think about some of the products you shoot, your friends, neighbors, team members at Whitetail Stalker. Take a couple minutes. The mic's yours, and then we'll wrap the show.
All right. First, I guess, thank Mike for having me on the team, Mike and Shelley Grant staff out in Iowa. It's been a huge opportunity, and, all the teammates, I call them family there. There's about 21 of us now. All of us are, we're all great people, and we all have a good thing going. Just keep that going. If he was still here, one of the biggest parts of my hunting life is, my Uncle Paul. For products, trees and camo. That's a great line of product. Trying to think here, Jack's Mountain Custom Calls, and all the sponsors we have at Whitetail Stalker. Just thanks for being a part and having us be a part of your company.
Well, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, it's great to have the pro staff of Whitetail Stalker on the show. And Willie Smith, it's been a joy just listening to you and telling stories and sharing what hunting means to you. So thank you, sir, so much for being on the show.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Bruce. Appreciate it.
On the next episode, we're heading out to Nebraska, and we're going to talk about rackology. Well, you combine deer racks and biology and an agronomist, and you get quite a show. Well, Jason Obermiller and Eric Fitzgerald are going to share some tips and techniques how to have a balanced herd and how to grow healthy deer. It's going to be a great show. Tune in.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.